What if the jewel that captures your attention first is already revealing something about you, even before you say a single word? Not in a mystical or fortune-telling sense, but in a quieter, more human way. Because sometimes what instantly draws us in is not random at all. It reflects something already alive within us, a need, a strength, a wound, a desire, or even a version of ourselves that is still unfolding. That is why a simple choice like this can feel unexpectedly personal. At first glance, a jewel is just an object, color, shape, light. But symbols have always spoken to us long before logic does. We are pulled toward certain things for reasons we cannot always explain right away. Sometimes we choose what mirrors who we already are. Other times we choose what our heart has been missing. And that is where this becomes interesting. In front of you are 6 different jewels. Each one carries a completely different emotional atmosphere, a distinct energy, a unique message. None is better than another, and there is no right or wrong answer here. This is not a test. It is simply an invitation to notice what feels like you without overthinking it. So pause for a moment. Take a breath. Look at them carefully, then choose the one that pulls you in first. Not the one that seems most valuable, not the one you think you should choose, not the one that feels safest. Choose the one that creates an immediate reaction in you, because that first reaction matters. The red jewel carries intensity, passion, and courage, a heart that feels deeply and moves through life with fire. The blue jewel holds calm, wisdom, and emotional depth, a quieter strength rooted in reflection and control. The green jewel represents healing, growth, and balance, an energy of renewal and gentle restoration. The purple jewel leans toward mystery, intuition, and transformation, often calling to those with rich inner worlds. The golden jewel radiates warmth, joy, charisma, and a desire to fully experience life. And the black jewel embodies protection, resilience, independence, and a quiet, grounded power. One of these may reflect how you already live. Another may reveal what you guard most closely. And another may point towards something your soul has been searching for without words. That is why this choice goes deeper than it appears. By the end of this, you may not only understand your preference. You may begin to see something about your emotional world, the phase of life you're in, and the path you are naturally drawn toward. And if you find meaning in reflections like this, consider staying with me. Because sometimes the smallest choices reveal the most meaningful truths. Now let us gently begin with the first 2 energies. If your attention was drawn to the red jewel or the blue one, your choice may already be telling a story about how you move through the world. At first glance, these 2 seem like opposites. One burns with intensity, the other cools with calm. One acts quickly, driven by emotion. The other responds thoughtfully, guided by reflection. And yet both are powerful in their own way. Both carry depth. Both often belong to people who feel more than they show, just in different languages. If you chose the red jewel, you are likely someone who does not experience life halfway. There is an intensity in how you care, how you desire, how you protect, and how you dream. You may be passionate, expressive, loyal, and emotionally alive. When something matters to you, it truly matters. You are not built for a shallow life. You seek meaning, movement, honesty, something that feels real. There is often a strong inner fire in people drawn to red. Sometimes it appears as courage, sometimes as ambition, sometimes as emotional boldness or a refusal to settle for anything that feels empty. You may follow your instincts quickly, feel connections deeply, and give your whole heart when trust is present. But that same fire can bring challenges. You may feel disappointment more intensely. You may react quickly in emotional moments. And when life feels too slow, too controlled, or too distant, it can become difficult to stay grounded. For you, purpose matters more than comfort. You do not just want to be safe, you want to feel alive. If you chose the blue jewel, your strength takes a different form. You may be thoughtful, composed, observant, and emotionally deep in a quieter, more contained way. You likely notice more than people realize. You think before you speak. You feel before you act. And your presence often brings a sense of calm that others naturally trust. While some bring intensity into a room, you bring steadiness. There is often wisdom in people drawn to blue. Not because life has been easy, but because you have learned the value of emotional control, reflection, and clarity. You may not reveal everything about yourself immediately. In fact, you may protect your inner world carefully. But that does not mean you feel less. More often, it means you feel deeply enough to be selective with what you share. You likely value peace, sincerity, intelligence, and emotional stability. Chaos does not attract you. You are drawn to what feels real, balanced, and quietly meaningful. Your life may reflect order, intention, and a sense of inner discipline. Still, beneath that calm surface, there may be unspoken thoughts, quiet longings, or emotions that rarely find words. So while red reaches outward with passion, blue holds inward with grace. And that contrast matters more than it seems. Now let us move deeper into a different layer of the inner world. If your attention was drawn to the green jewel or the purple one, your choice may reflect something more subtle, something that lives beneath the surface of everyday life. These two energies often appear when a person is not just moving through life, but trying to understand themselves more honestly. They are quieter than red or gold, less visible than black, but no less powerful. In many ways, they belong to people whose real life is happening internally, through reflection, growth, and transformation. If you chose the green jewel, your strength likely comes from healing, balance, and emotional renewal. There is often something gentle yet steady about your presence. You may not be the loudest person in the room, but people often feel safe around you. Grounded, understood. You carry a kind of calm that does not demand attention but quietly supports those around you. You likely value peace, authenticity, and the kind of growth that takes time but truly lasts. Green is often chosen by people who are healing, people who are rebuilding themselves, sometimes after difficult seasons. But this does not mean you are broken. It means part of you understands the importance of restoration. You recognize that strength is not always about pushing forward. Sometimes it is about knowing when to pause, to repair, to return to yourself. You may have experienced pain, but instead of becoming hardened, you chose to become wiser. Even when life has felt heavy, something in you continued reaching for balance. There is also a natural honesty in this energy. You are likely drawn to what feels real, not what simply looks impressive. Emotional truth matters to you. Healthy relationships matter. Inner stability matters. You may not crave constant excitement or intensity. What you want is something deeper, something nourishing. A life where peace is not temporary, where love feels safe, and where success does not come at the cost of your well-being. Your path is not rushed, but it is real. If you chose the purple jewel, your energy may feel more mysterious, intuitive, and transformative. You may be someone with a rich inner world, someone who senses things deeply, who notices meanings that others overlook. You may be drawn to symbolism, to depth, to understanding what lies beneath appearances. There is often a feeling of transition connected to this choice. You may be in the middle of becoming someone new. Even if nothing on the outside has fully changed yet, something inside you is shifting. You may be questioning old identities, letting go of what no longer fits, or stepping into a deeper awareness of who you truly are. This process is not always comfortable. Transformation rarely is, but it is meaningful. You may carry emotions that are difficult to explain, thoughts that feel too complex to easily share, and at times you may feel misunderstood, not because you are distant, but because so much of your experience happens internally. You may need meaning more than approval, truth more than comfort, depth more than noise. There is also a quiet intensity in you. Not loud, not obvious, but undeniable. It comes from reflection, from solitude, from everything you have processed within yourself. So if green restores what has been wounded, purple reshapes what has been hidden, and both paths require courage, just expressed in different ways. Now let us move into the final contrast, because the next two jewels reveal something equally powerful, but in a completely different direction: the desire to shine and the instinct to protect. If your eyes were drawn to the golden jewel or the black one, your choice may reflect how you navigate the world, how you express yourself, how you connect, and how you protect what matters most. These two energies are striking in opposite ways. One radiates outward, the other holds inward. One seeks expression, the other values protection. And for many people, the tension between these two forces shapes their entire life story more than they realize. If you chose the golden jewel, there is likely something warm, expressive, and radiant about your energy. You may be someone who wants life to feel alive, to feel colorful, meaningful, and emotionally rich. You are drawn to beauty, to connection, to moments that make you feel fully present. There is often a natural spark in people drawn to gold, not always loud, but noticeable. You may bring energy into a room. You may uplift others without even trying. You may feel most like yourself when you are engaged, when you are experiencing life rather than just observing it. Gold is often connected to charisma, confidence, and expansion. But this does not always mean external success in the obvious sense. Sometimes it simply means you want your life to feel full of experience, expression, and meaning. You may care deeply about creating memories, building something that matters, or becoming someone who is not afraid to take up space in the world. At your best, you bring warmth, optimism, and courage to others. But there may also be something more vulnerable beneath that brightness. Sometimes people drawn to gold have experienced moments where their light felt too much for others, where their joy was misunderstood, where they felt the need to dim themselves in environments that were too cold, too rigid, or too limiting. And part of your journey may be realizing this: your light is not too much. It is your gift. If you chose the black jewel, your energy may be more private, self-contained, and quietly powerful. You may be someone who values depth over display, authenticity over performance, trust over quick connection. There is often a strong inner world behind this choice, along with a deep awareness of what deserves access to it. You do not reveal yourself easily, and that is not a weakness. It is wisdom. You may have learned through experience that not everything meaningful should be exposed too quickly, that some things are worth protecting, that trust should be earned, not given freely. You likely observe before you engage. You trust slowly, and when you do open up, it is real. There is also a magnetic quality to this energy, a quiet confidence, a calm intensity. People may not always understand you immediately, but they often sense that there is more depth within you than you show. Your strength is not loud, but it is undeniable. So while gold shines outward, bringing warmth into the world, black protects inward, preserving what is truly valuable. And both are powerful, because in the end, this is not just about personality. It is about the life you are building, often without even realizing it. And now, we arrive at something even deeper. Because by this point, your jewel is no longer just a simple choice. It has become a mirror. The truth is, what we are drawn to is rarely random. More often, it reflects the emotional atmosphere we are living in, the energy we naturally carry, or even the kind of life we are quietly trying to build. And that is what makes your choice so revealing. It is not only showing who you are, it may also be showing where you are going. If you chose the red jewel, you may be building a life shaped by intensity, courage, and meaning. You are likely not fulfilled by anything that feels empty or emotionally distant. You want passion in what you do, honesty in what you feel, and depth in the people you allow into your world. Even your struggles may come from caring too much rather than too little. You are here to live fully, not cautiously. To experience life in a way that feels real, not just acceptable. If you chose the blue jewel, you may be creating a life centered around peace, wisdom, and emotional clarity. You value stability over chaos, understanding over reaction, and depth over noise. You are likely drawn to calm environments, thoughtful relationships, and decisions that protect your inner balance. What you are building may not always appear dramatic from the outside, but it carries intention, quiet strength, and a kind of depth that cannot be rushed. If you chose the green jewel, your life may be moving toward healing, renewal, and genuine growth. You may be in a phase where what matters most is not impressing others but becoming whole again in your own way. Green reflects a path of restoration, choosing what nourishes you instead of what drains you. It is a life built slowly but meaningfully. A life where authenticity matters more than appearance, and where growth is measured by inner peace rather than external validation. If you chose the purple jewel, you may be shaping a life of transformation, inner truth, and self-discovery. You are likely someone who cannot remain in shallow versions of life for long. At some point, you begin to question everything. Who am I becoming? What no longer fits? What is trying to emerge from within me? Purple reflects a life that is changing from the inside out, a quiet but powerful evolution that may not yet be visible to others but is deeply real to you. If you chose the golden jewel, you may be building a life centered around joy, expression, and connection. You are drawn to what feels alive, vibrant, and emotionally rich. You may want your life to hold beauty, warmth, and moments that remind you that being alive is meant to be felt, not just endured. Your path may involve learning how to express yourself fully, without shrinking, without apologizing, without hiding the parts of you that were meant to shine. And if you chose the black jewel, you may be creating a life rooted in strength, boundaries, and emotional independence. You value truth, depth, and self-respect more than surface-level approval. The life you are building may be quieter, more selective, but deeply grounded. You do not need constant recognition to know your worth. What matters to you is something solid, something real enough to trust, something strong enough to last. But here is where it becomes even more meaningful. Sometimes we do not choose what we already are. Sometimes we choose what we need. The red jewel may call to someone who has felt emotionally numb and is ready to feel again. The blue jewel may attract someone who is tired of chaos and seeking peace. The green jewel may appear when healing has become necessary. The purple jewel may emerge when a deeper self is trying to come forward. The golden jewel may draw in someone ready to rediscover joy. And the black jewel may choose the person who is finally learning how to protect their peace. This is why a choice like this can feel so personal. Because it does not only reflect identity, it reflects longing. And once you begin to see that, something shifts. At this point, your choice likely feels like more than a preference. And that is because it is. What attracts us often carries a quiet truth, not always obvious, not always dramatic, but real. A clue about what we value, what we protect, what we are missing, or what part of us is asking to be seen more clearly. That is why something this simple can stay in your mind longer than expected. It reaches beyond taste. It touches identity. The jewel you chose may reflect your personality, but it may also reflect your story. Because who we are is not only shaped by our nature, but by what we have lived through. The one drawn to red may carry a heart that refuses to grow cold, even after disappointment. The one drawn to blue may have learned that peace is not weakness, but emotional mastery. The one drawn to green may be quietly restoring something life once exhausted. The one drawn to purple may be navigating a transformation that others cannot yet see. The one drawn to gold may be rediscovering joy and the courage to express it. And the one drawn to black may be protecting something deeply valuable, something they have learned not to place in careless hands. And none of these paths are small. That is important to remember. No jewel represents a better life. No energy represents a stronger soul. They simply reflect different ways of living, healing, growing, loving, and becoming. Some are meant to heal. Some are meant to transform. Some are meant to shine. Some are meant to protect. And most of us at different stages of life become all of them. So this is not about placing yourself into a fixed identity. It is about seeing yourself more honestly. Maybe your jewel revealed the energy you naturally carry. Maybe it revealed what your heart has been quietly craving. Maybe it showed the kind of life you are building. Or maybe it simply gave shape to something you have felt for a long time, but never fully understood. And sometimes that alone is powerful. Because being understood, even by a symbol, even for a moment, can feel deeply emotional. So now I want to ask you something simple. Which jewel did you choose? And did it feel accurate? Write your answer in the comments because I would genuinely like to know what drew you in and whether it reflected something true about you. And if you enjoy these kinds of deeper psychological reflections, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Because there is always more beneath the surface than we first realize. And for those of you who feel curious to explore further, there is a more complete psychological test waiting in the description. It is simply there for anyone who wants to continue the journey a little deeper. Because in the end, the jewel you choose is never just about beauty. It is about resonance. It is about recognition. It is about that silent part of you that responds before logic ever has the chance. And sometimes the thing you choose first is not just what you like. It is the part of yourself that is finally ready to be seen.